So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector. And tonight I'm joined by a member of Jag Panzer. They're a band that has been around since the 80s. They put out some great albums in the 80s. And they took a hiatus sometime in the 2000s, 2017, but they are back. And they have a new album called The Hallowed, which is going to be released at the June 23rd, I believe. And I have with me Mark Briody, the guitarist from Jag Panzer. So Mark, how are you today?
Doing good. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I got the chance to listen to the new album in full, and I don't know why you guys get categorized. I saw like something category like power metal, because it, to me, it sounds more like the new wave of British heavy metal, like your Iron Maiden, your Saxon. You have that galloping sound. You have the dual guitars, plus you have a singer who can belt out those high notes. So that's what the sound of Jag Panzer sounds to me like, that classic heavy metal from the 80s to me, at least for my ears.
Yeah, the new wave of British heavy metal was a huge influence on us. I mean, in fact, I was probably 17 or 18 years old. For a while, I listened to only new wave of British heavy metal. I thought it was so great. I mean, Angel Witch and Witchfind and Tigers of Pantang. And I loved everything new wave of British heavy metal. I still listen to it regularly. Huge influence on us.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is that you guys almost started at the same time, as just like a few years after those bands. So it's like maybe you should call your sound the new wave of Colorado.
Yeah, that's good. I might take that from you. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, like if they
start,
ask you.
Yeah, we did start. Yeah, it was a little bit later but just only a few years, because when we started, Angel Witch had just came out with their brilliant self-titled album. Tigers of Pantang had already got to Spellbound, I think, Wildcat Spellbound. And so, yeah, a few of my favorite new wave of British heavy metals had just came out.
Yeah, and I think Iron Maiden started like at the beginning of the 80s, or like 79, 70.
Yeah,
78. I'm not sure, but those first, like the Paul Diano albums, are like that time. So yeah, it was at that time. And plus you came out at a time where like music was on heavy rotation on MTV, where music videos were everything, and metal was huge in the 80s. I was very young in the 80s. So when you guys put out your first record, I was like 5. So but yeah, I've listened to the albums, and something that I find really interesting about this album is, first of all, it's like I watched the documentary that you had, that Atomic Records produced for YouTube, which is a great documentary. If I would recommend, if people haven't seen this documentary and want to know more about the album, they should watch it, because it really goes through the process of the album. It shows how much you guys did to produce it, and to think outside the box with creative things that you used to do back in the past. So we'll talk a little bit about that more as we chat along. But yeah, that documentary was great.
That was crazy doing the documentary.
How long did it take you to do that documentary? Because I know you produced.
Yeah, we wanted to do a documentary, and so I bought a new Mac to edit it on, and hadn't even turned it on yet. I bought a new camera. I bought new editing software, and learned it on the airplane down to Phoenix to film everybody.
No, well, it turned out great, and I can tell you, sometimes editing can be a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it can be tedious, and I would get it. But yeah, it's good because you get an all-around feel of the album. And I want to discuss, this is a concept album. It's called The Hallowed, and the story is about it's an apocalyptic era. Everything's like freezing, and people need to scavenge for food, which is a topic that obviously after pandemic times has gotten more popular. but I like that you do a twist on it, and it's told through the tales of the animals.
Yes.
When did you decide that you wanted to switch the story from humans to having it be seen through the eyes of the animals?
Well, once Harry set up the story where he had a full set of animals to accompany the people for, and the animals were doing different jobs. We were talking a lot about the different scenes, and then somebody, I forget, it wasn't me, somebody mentioned how that scene would be completely different from the animals' point of view than the humans. And we thought, maybe we should work this into this. So yeah, we decided the animals' perspective would probably be different and should be used for the album. But we have a private band chat, and we kept talking about the story. And I thought, well, if we're interested in the story, maybe other people were. So we decided to do a comic book, and then that's where we put the human perspective.
Yeah, I read that. Obviously, the documentary that you put out a comic book. So I know that comic books. I used to buy comic books when I was young. I haven't bought a comic book in years. But yeah, it's a huge business, but also a pain in the ass to produce. So, for you growing up, were you a fan of comic books?
Yeah, I was a fan of EC comics like Tales from the Crypt and Vault
Oh
of
yeah,
Horror and things like that. Loved
yeah, I
EC.
know, and I think that this would be good because obviously someone can get the album, and if they want to like know more about the story, they can get the comic book. Uh, so the comic book follows more the humans. So how different from a story is from the humans' point of view and the animals?
The animals were more about teamwork and family, and the
Oh,
humans are very selfish. And there's a part in the comic book where the humans, they're in the ocean and they're floating on some wood, and the human says, "Don't even worry about the animals; let them fend for themselves." So that's the part in the story where the animals start thinking maybe they shouldn't be allied with the humans.
yeah, that's interesting, and I think uh, doing a concept album about apocalyptic things, there's some other people that are doing it, but I think having it seen from the point of views of the animals makes it stand out in a way because, yeah, it's different and it's interesting. So, for example, does every song follow a different point of view of different animals, or do they interchange in the story?
They interchange. Some of them, song number one is all the animals. Song number two, Prey, is from the Panthers' point of view. Stronger Than You Know is the Eagles. So yeah, there's some individual animals, and then some it's the viewpoint of all the animals.
When you were discussing animals to have on the concept, was there like an animal that you said, hell no, we're not going to include this animal in the story?
Yeah, I think a lion came up, and we said no, we can't. We can have panthers. We need a little bit. We can't have a big lion. It didn't make sense in the post-apocalyptic. Um, I'm trying to think what else. No, I think that's the only animal we shot down.
Maybe you should have like a sloth.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And the point of view, they're trying to survive. I don't think the sloth would survive in a post-apocalyptic. He would just want to rest. But yeah, that song "Pray," I like that one because that song, first of all, it's got that catchy, like you can shout to it like "Pray, pray," and that song has a little bit of thrash metal influence to it, a little bit. It's a when you were going on that one, did you think that being a harder song, I think more of a thrash metal sound would benefit from that? Was that like a conscious decision?
Yeah. I wanted to come up with I was calling it the Panthers theme. I wanted a riff for the Panthers, and I went through a bunch of different riffs till I came up with that. That song's interesting because us band members really liked that song, and we did a music video for it. But some people at the record company and other people we know are a little lukewarm on the song, so they're not releasing the video for it till after the album comes out. And that's fine. Everybody's got their opinion on music, but I really love the song.
I think that song, first of all, it has the chanting. Like I could imagine like being in a festival, in a concert, and everyone going, pray, pray.
Yeah.
Like it's a short word, it's easy. So if there's people in the crowd that are super drunk, they can still shout pray.
You're right. Good
Yeah,
point.
it's not like a huge, like super long title. Like for example, some of I love Iron Maiden, but some of their new song, they have like a long title or they're like super long, and I'm like, please, just go back to the simpler songs and not these 20-minute epics, please. But that your album, almost all the songs are like 4 to 5 minutes, except the closing track, which is almost a 10-minute song, but I like it because it has like an epic feel to it, and it's not prog metal per se, but it has
No.
different changes. And I'm guessing that's like an epic conclusion to a story.
Yes. Yeah, we
So
wanted an epic conclusion, and it takes the song goes through several different build up and phases. So yeah, we didn't come out and say, let's write a 10-minute song, but that's what it's came out with. A funny thing about that song is I don't really like to do guitar solos. I haven't done one on a record for 30 years. And
is there a reason for that? That you
I just don't like to do it. I'm just not interested in doing it. So on the first solo in Pray, I had this idea. I said, I want a solo like this. And nobody could understand what I meant. Well, we don't sure what you mean until I finally grabbed my guitar and I said, a solo like this. And everybody said, okay, that's the one that's going to be on the album. Okay, so I have one on the album now.
so
Unintentional.
that means that you have to play that solo.
Yeah.
You'll be like, damn it, I have to play that solo.
I know.
So another thing that's interesting, you got a second guitar player, and he was touring with you for a few years now, but he wasn't a full a band member with Ken Rodarte. And so you guys made him like do a lot of solos so they could like someone needed to be convinced in the bands for it to be like a full member of Jag Panzer. Like
yeah, one guy. Yeah, one guy wasn't. I'm not saying who it is, but yeah, one guy
in the video said wasn't me.
Everybody thinks it's me. I mean, that's what everybody says. Oh, no, I thought he was great after one demo. I thought he was great. No, we had one guy that said, look, I want to hear all 10. And wow. So I told Ken, hey, you're going to have to do all 10. And he said, okay, which was a great sign because sometimes in this band, you got to do a lot more than you planned on. So the fact that he was so cool about it, that really helped him get the gig.
Yeah, if I was him, I would have done 11. I'm like, you asked for 10. I give you one extra one for the road.
That would have been great.
Yeah, that would have been great. But yeah, the solos on this record are pretty epic. There's and they don't feel like forced because sometimes there's solos that feels forced. They flow with the songs and they don't take away from the music.
Yeah.
Like when you're doing albums, I know that you don't like to do solos, but what do you think of like soloing in metal? Because I know that soloing, at least in newer metal bands, it's not as common as it used to be. Like in the 80s and 90s, like if you had like a metal album and there was no solos, that would have been weird. Because it was like part of metal. You had to have solos. But somewhere when new metal started and other forms started, like solos became like more rare and it was more about the riffing. For you, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think that the solo is important in heavy metal. It's important to me musically because it gives you a break from the vocal part and it sort of gives you a counter melody and it adds some fire to the song that's counter to the vocal line. Yeah, I mean, I grew up listening to, like Rainbow and Judas Priest, and the solos were so important and they were really well crafted. They weren't just, let's play as fast as I can on the guitar for 16 bars. No, it was well crafted solos. So, in my opinion, it's to the kind of heavy metal I like, solos are very important.
Yeah, I think so too. Plus, when there's a concert and if there's a long, complicated solo, that's a great time for the lead vocalist to go to the bathroom.
Yes, get off stage.
or to have some water, to have like a break.
It's a good time for the lead guitar player to show off. Look at me now. Look at me.
Look at
Ken's
me.
good. Ken's good at that.
Yeah,
Look at me. Look at me.
yeah. When I go to concerts and like when I see like older bands, they usually they play songs, but they have like a spotlight where there's like, okay, here's the lead guitarist doing a solo, so he can shine. Then you have a part, the bass player doing a solo. Then you have like the drummer doing something, which I think is cool because it's like a way so people can shine, and and it's something that sometimes is missed in shows, and it's
Yeah.
I, I like that part of shows. I like the songs to sound like the way they sound in record, but there can be some variation, like if you play
Yeah.
exactly everything, and it can get tedious and boring. So uh you know what I was thinking, you have the comic book for this, like when the album drops, if I think even though you have a comic book, would you guys like, if everything is selling well, like be open to doing like a like bringing the comic into like an animated like movie or short or something? Because I would think
Oh
that would
yeah.
be interesting.
That I would love to do that. I've been trying to think how we can do that, but yeah, that would be fantastic. Would love to do that. That would actually be a dream come true for me. That would be very cool.
Yeah, because like when you think of like conceptual albums like Pink Floyd The Wall that has like a movie. I can't think of another right out of the top of my head, but usually conceptual albums have can translate into a movie format, and plus you
Oh,
already did the
Tommy
comic.
the Who. That's another one.
Yeah, and they translate the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's
Yeah.
Lonely Hearts Club. Obviously, it's a concept album about doing drugs, but yeah. But yeah, they can translate, and I want to show the artwork because the artwork for this I thought was pretty cool looking. When you did this artwork, was the comic already out, or you did it before?
No, long before. Yeah, Dusan Markovic did the comic, and did the album cover. And oh, he's one of my favorite artists. He's probably my favorite artist on the planet. I grew up liking art like Boris Vallejo and Frank Frazetta, and so
Mhm.
I love Dusan's work. So for this cover, we just wanted a couple characters. So we just picked these two. That character, his name is Wolf. He is not the leader. He's not the most important character. And the dog's name is Tahoe, and also just another character. So we wanted, just a little different approach. Someone that looked kind of imposing and intimidating to match the environment. So he's the character we went with.
Yeah, why did you pick the character that's not the most important? Maybe because it's the best cool. It looks cool.
Yeah, it looks very cool. Yeah, I think maybe they're all equally important. The teenage girl character is very important, but yeah, this character just looks cool with what he's wearing.
Yeah, no, it looks cool. Did you say the name of the wolf was Taco?
Tahoe,
Tahoe.
like
I,
Lake
I thought you
Tahoe,
said taco.
the
I'm like,
city in
taco what?
Nevada.
Oh, nice. Tahoe. Yeah, I've been there. Nice place to go skiing. So yeah, I like the cover because you have those characters, you have like the background, it looks apocalyptic. It also looks like it could be like a video game cover. Like you could even have a video game to this with the concept. Uh like when you
Yeah,
think of
that would be fun too.
apocalyptic series, like you have The Last of Us, which originally was a
Yeah,
video game, and then they turned it
right.
into a into a series. And I was excited because I actually played the video game,
Oh,
and
cool. Yeah,
so
I didn't play the video game, but I like the series.
yeah, it's good because I knew what was going to happen. Everyone's like, I'm like, oh, I'm so attached to that character. I'm like, no, do not get attached. But some people complained like the series didn't have enough like zombies. I'm like because the series is more about the survivors. Like the video game, obviously, if it had fewer zombies to playing, it would be boring. But it's
Yes.
different for the series, and obviously with the years that we've had, apocalyptic things go well. But this is like a frozen place. Like so, in the story of the Hallowed, what happened to Earth that it's all frozen?
Um, We have different theories in the band. We can't agree on that yet. So we all agree that it's Frozen, of course. But
Yeah, maybe the listener could interpret different things of why was it frozen? What
I like our drummer's theory best. His theory is that there was a slight shift in the planet rotation, so it turned the northern hemisphere frozen, and the southern hemisphere stayed warm.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So how many characters are there in the story?
Let's see. There's Wolf and Alice and Z and K. There's 5.
5 characters. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting to follow the story and having characters. And I like these concept albums. I love progressive metal, and usually progressive metal likes to have many things. I don't always understand the story, but it's good, especially what you did with the comic books is something that like a band like Coheed and Cambria has done a lot since all their albums are comics. But can you like the thing is you can enjoy the music without actually reading the comic books, which is
Yes, exactly. We wanted to do that. Yeah, we wanted to make
you don't
sure.
want to be like that like pretentious band that
Yeah.
like if you do not read this, you won't understand what's
Exactly.
happening on the album. So for you as a guitar player here on this album, which of the songs was your favorite to create?
Oh, Dark Descent.
Oh, that's a
And
good one.
yeah, I'll tell you why. If you listen to it, it sounds like a basic kind of up tempo metal track. If you listen to it and tap your foot, yeah, it's going to go way off. Because what I did was I strategically added or dropped eighth notes throughout the song to simulate that it's speeding up. It is not speeding up, but I'm calling it an audio illusion. I've had
Nice.
people listen to it who've got platinum albums on the wall that are just that turned around. Okay, Mark, what's going on? What are you doing? But it's something that the average listener will never notice. Oh, this is just a cool metal song. But if you really start breaking it down, it's a very complicated song.
Yeah, I remember that song stood out because it's like it's descending. Like I don't know what you did because I'm not a guitar player, but it's interesting that you are explaining it to it and that some people didn't know what you were doing. How did you come up with that? Like when you were doing that song? Because I'm sure that's something different that you tried.
Yeah, because of the scene where they're at the edge and it looks like they're on top of a huge cliff, but it's really they're on the top of an old broken frozen building, a skyscraper. So they've got to descend down it. So I really wanted to kick up the tension. And I thought, okay, on the verses, if I can make the upbeats seem like the downbeat and have a really frantic on top of the beat guitar part, maybe I can get that, add some tension to it. And then I'll relieve the tension during the choruses to give you a little break and then kick the tension back up again.
No, yeah, that's very interesting, and I think it does it because that was a song that I found that it was a little bit different, and it had, and I obviously I couldn't pinpoint what it was, but now I know because you explained it to me. So at the ending, you say that there's like a conclusion to the story, but do you think this is a story that you could revisit in later albums, or are you done with this story for now?
Done with it for now, but I think it's something we could revisit sometime in the future. Yeah, the next record will probably just be a regular metal record, but yeah, we left it open-ended. So, if we wanted to do something to expand it a bit, we could.
Yeah, it has to be good because, like, for example, Queensryche has Operation Mindcrime 1, which is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And then you have Operation Mindcrime 2, which is a tragedy. So it's like sometimes some things are left like sometimes lightning doesn't strike twice in a bottle.
Yeah,
and you
I agree.
have to leave it, but it had to be like there would have to be a reason to continue the story and have it make sense for the characters.
Exactly.
But yeah, was this the first time that the band did a concept record per se as a story?
Well, we did a concept based on Macbeth, but we didn't write Macbeth, of course. But yeah, that's the only other time we did that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this maybe the apocalyptic scenery sounds more interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, because it's your own story that you created. So for this one, you signed to Atomic Fire Records. How has it been like signing with them? Because I know that I've talked to a few bands that they are under the record label, and it seems that they do get like a lot of the 80s metal bands, like there's a lot of like variety, and it's a good place for metal bands from the 80s to be in. So how did that came into fruition?
Well, we had finished our contract with SPV, and we had a good time on SPV. And I always try to look at every label as a positive experience. So there was a lot of positive from SPV, but our contract ran out, so we wanted to do the Hallowed without any record company involved. So we actually finished the Hallowed, and then we started looking at labels we were interested in. And I remembered back when we did a tour with Hammerfall on their first record, when they were on Nuclear Blast, how the promotional team was fantastic. I mean, they were at all the gigs, and it was just fantastic promo. And then when I was researching labels, I noticed Atomic Fire had all those same people. And then I remembered, Atomic Fire used to be most of the Nuclear Blast staff. So those are really people we wanted to work with. So we were glad they liked the Hallowed and offered a deal, and everything's been great with them. They listened to our ideas. We exchanged ideas. They let us do things. We told them we wanted to do a documentary, and they said great. And sometimes in the past, labels don't want you doing everything that you want to do, but Atomic Fire said go ahead and do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, no, and you took a very old school approach to the promotion. You sent out some mail outs to fans, and you
Yeah.
did like a postcard that opens, and you get like this voice telling you what the Hallowed is about, which is
Yeah, I
pretty
got
cool.
one in the mail to you.
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how long it'll take for you to get it, but give it a week or so, I guess.
No, that when I get it, yeah, I obviously post it because yeah, that I think that's cool. I don't think a lot of like bands do that, and at least I think it shows to the fans that you care, like you're invested in this. Because a lot of bands would say like fuck it, people don't buy records anymore. Why am I putting out so much shit? Like
Yeah, and we have one more mailer coming out here. I guess it's going to get mailed out maybe a week from now.
yeah, because yeah, I like it when bands take the time and if you have the story, you have the comic book, because there's nothing worse than buying an album, opening it up, and there's not even having lyrics anymore. I'm like, then
Oh
what?
yeah,
I'm like, then why the fuck did I buy this album? Like,
oh
you're not
yeah.
giving me anything.
I've talked to musicians who say just everything's digital, just put out an album, don't even put lyrics, and then move on. And no, I don't want to do that. I really like the way things were in the 80s, where the vinyl had everything in it, the lyrics and photos, and bands did hotlines you could call. So we did one of those, and
Oh
bands
yeah,
mailed things in the mail. And yeah, I'm trying
yeah.
to show people how.
When I bought Van Halen 1984, he had like an original mailing list of like a phone call that you could call. I'm like, I wonder if I call this number now, who will I get? It would be
So
yeah,
yeah,
but
so we're just trying to promote like bands did in the 80s, and that was a lot of fun back then.
yeah, and I think I at least for me, I grew up more. I was in the 80s, but I got more into music in the 90s. But I like buying an album and reading the lyrics while I'm listening to the music. So
Yeah.
right now, if there's like a new album and there's no lyrics to it or anything, some don't even put photos. You're like what are you giving? Like if I just wanted to listen to the music, I can stream it.
Right.
But yeah, I think that having that makes obviously fans want to get that pre-order. So because you're going to get lyrics, you're going to get pictures. Where can when they pre-order, is there like a bundle with the comic book?
Yes. Yeah, Atomic Fire is doing a bundle. Yeah. They're
I'll put the link somewhere around here so people who are interested in getting that bundle can get it. So if they want to like read the point of view of the humans for the story and then listen to the album, the animals, I listened to the album, but I can tell you that I fully comprehend every story that everything that happens, because this is like a record that you need the lyrics
yes.
to listen to the story, especially if you have a concept album and you don't put lyrics to it, then you're missing out, because that's what get people invested in the story, at least in my opinion. So, Mark, I don't want to take a lot of time of your busy day. I know you've done a lot of this so far, but before I let you go, like right now, what new music or are you currently listening to, or it can be old music that inspires you to keep writing music?
Oh, that's a good question. There's a traditional metal band here in my town that's very young guys, and they're great, called Chamber Mage. So I've been listening to their demo. I listen to all kinds of music, like everything.
That's good.
I like a British folk singer named Kate Rusby. So I'm listening to a lot of her material. I'm a big Skyclad fan. So Kevin Ridley's other project, Thanes and Thralls, I've been listening to that quite a bit. Lately, I've been listening to lots of Goblin, the Italian horror soundtrack masters. So I think that's about what I've been listening to lately.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good to listen to different stuff and you can get inspired. So, Mark, I want to thank you for taking some time of your day to talking with me about the concept of the Hallowed. I really wanted to get into the concept because I think it's interesting and would get more people hyped into the album. So, the album's coming out on, I believe it's June 23rd for Atomic Fire Records, but I'll post the link so people can get it. And you guys are going to be on tour at the end of July and August, and you're doing some festivals, right?
Yeah.
So that should be fun. Like festival, the summertime is the best for festivals.
Yeah, they're fun. Lots of fun.
Do you have like a favorite festival that you've done?
I really like Keep It True. It's the German metal festival. I mean, I like all of them, but Keep It True just has a special place in my heart because there was a few years where we weren't really doing anything, and they still reached out to us to play, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's
Thank
good.
you, Oliver.
When they reach out, like maybe when you're
Yeah.
not like you don't have anything out there, and so yeah, that shows that they cared. So, Mark, the best for the new album, and hopefully some like younger fans can get into that, maybe don't know Jag Panzer, can get into it. So until next time, people, this is Hector, the Shield Dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and good